guys, my name is the Crazy Cat Rider and I'm back with another books video. I was born in the year 1990 and since then I do not remember even a single instance in my life where I have been in a quarantine. Although it can get tiring and frustrating sometimes, I still feel that this is something that we might never get to see again. In this self-quarantine, you can either just be negative about it and sit in crib, or you can simply roll along with it and try to stay positive and make the best out of it. I am simply reading a lot and writing a lot. I'm just catching up on all the reading and writing. So here are the 10 books that I recommend for reading this global pandemic. So let's begin. So the first book on my list is Duma by Stephen King. This book is like the best horror book I've ever read. This book scared me to hell, and when I actually first read this book, after finishing the book, I used to hide this book at the back of my bookshelf. Like I had these two rows, right? So I used to put this book in the one that was at the back because this book was really genuinely scary. It just messes up with your psyche and it's really good. And for this time, this book would be a perfect fit. So my first recommendation is Duma by Stephen King. Now, the second book that I would like to recommend is Swan Song by Robert McCammon. I was introduced to Robert McCammon by one of my book club's friend, and she's also the co-moderator now, Cheryl. Cheryl recommended Robert McCammon's first book to me, Boy's Life. After that, I totally fell in love with his writing, and then I picked up this book, Swan Song, which is actually a lot like The Stand by Stephen King, but I haven't read The Stand yet. I have it on my bookshelf. Probably I'll read it in this self-distancing time, so you never know. Okay, so this is a post-apocalyptic book and it has a couple of supernatural elements and a lot of things. And this is a pretty big book. It's around 920 pages. Robert McCammon's book for some reason are very expensive in India. I have no idea why, so I had to get the mass market paperback version. And but it was totally worth it because this book is like good. This book has so much good writing in it that just overflows with the good writing, so do check out this book. So my second book is Swan Song by Robert McCammon. The third book that I'd like to recommend is not that big and it's pretty small, so if you want to go for a shorter book, you can go for this one. It is The Crooner by Gillian Flynn. Now this story was actually published in some other anthology, but after Gillian Flynn got the success after Gone Girl, it was released as a separate book. But whatever, it is very short but very good. So the third book on my list is The Crooner by Gillian Flynn. The next book on my list is The Girl with All the Gifts. This book is really good. It's a very good post-apocalyptic fiction book and the characters are very good, the writing is very good. It's just worth reading. I'm pretty sure you're gonna read it in less than 2 to 3 days because you're just gonna get involved in the writing so much that you're just gonna finish this book as quickly as you can because there's so much that happens in this book that you want to read non-stop, So this is the fourth book that I want to recommend, The Girl with All the Gifts. The next book on my list is a dark psychological thriller, and even if you're not a very big fan of this genre, you can still give it a try because it's good and it suits the mood perfectly. It is The Hypnotist by Lars Kepler. Now this book made me fall in love with this author's writing. It's actually a translated book from Swedish to English, translated from the Swedish by Anne Long. The translation was very good because the things weren't lost in translation, I'm pretty sure, because I really liked it, and the writing was very good, so both the writers had to be good for the translations to work that way. It's a very good book and I totally recommend this book to all the mystery and thriller lovers, especially psychological thriller lovers. So this is my 5th recommendation, The Hypnotist by Larkin. The 6th book on my list is a non-fiction. Now, if you've been following me or my reviews or my vlogs, then you might know that I am not a very big fan of non-fiction, but this is one of those rare occasions where I actually included a non-fiction on my list of recommendations, and this is not even the last recommendation that I'm giving. It is on the 6th spot. Okay, so my 6th recommendation is The Monster of Florence. This book is written by Douglas Preston, one of the very notable American journalists. He is also a fiction writer and he writes Pendergrass series. I've read only one book in that series and I actually liked it. Anyway, it is written with Mario Spezzi, who is an Italian journalist. Now, this book is about a serial killer and the author's very close call with him. And in this book there's also mention of the author Thomas Harris, the writer of Hannibal Lecter series, and his association, in the sense that when the case of this serial killer was going on, the author was present there in order to take notes, because some of the traits of his character Hannibal Lecter were actually inspired by this murder. So this book was really interesting, very gripping, it's a page turner in spite of being a non-fiction. It's just written in such good way and with such fluency and with such conviction that you cannot help but read it in one go. It's very hard to put on. This is very unputdownable book. So this is the 6th book on my list for this quarantine season, The Monster of Florence. It's a very good book, so do check it out. Okay, so the next book on my list is a horror again, The Haunting of Hill House by Shirley Jackson. Now, I just finished reading this book. This book is anyway a classic in horror fiction and all the horror writers read it at some point or the other. So if you are going to read this book, then I would say first read this book and then definitely you should go for the Netflix series Haunting of the Hill House. It is amazing. The book as well as the series, they both are so good. You should and you must watch and read them. So my 7th recommendation is The Haunting of Hill House by Shirley Jackson. The next book on my list is Strange Weather by Joe Hill. This book is actually a collection of 4 short novels. I'll just read out the name of the novels because I read it almost a year ago. First one is Rain, the second one is Loaded, the third one is Snapshot, and the fourth one is Aloft. So if you haven't read any one of these novels, or all of these for that matter, then you should really give this one a try. Joe Hill is an excellent writer, just like his father Stephen King, and Strange Weather is actually pretty good. It's also good for people who haven't read anything by Joe Hill earlier. So this can be a good starting point in order to see how his writing is. Though let me warn you that this is not one of his best works. This is good only because it's a collection of short stories. So you can get a general idea of how he generally writes his stories and the kind of style he uses. So this is a pretty good book and the stories in this are really good, especially Aloft and Snapshot and Loaded and Rain. I like all of them, so they're really good. So the 8th book that I would like to recommend is Strange Weather by Joe Hill. The next book on my list is a horror, again a horror, and I left it on page 33-34 when I first attempted to read it, because this book is really creepy and scary, and that time I actually used to get scared very fast, almost 2-3 years ago. I was very new to the horror fiction genre in books. This was actually one of the first few books that I tried and totally blew my mind, and it is 77 Shadow Street by Dean Koontz. Yes. Any book by Dean Koontz is good for that matter because he's like a legend in horror fiction. But this book is especially good because I had to abandon this book in my first try, then I got it in the second one, and I also have the audiobook for this one. So I'm planning to read the audiobook of this one again because I really want to revisit the thrills and the scary parts that this book has to offer. So my 9th recommendation for this list is 77 Shadow Street by Dean Koontz. The next book on my list is an apocalyptic fiction book, and I'm pretty sure you might have watched the movie because everyone who loves apocalypse or apocalyptic fiction has watched this movie because it starred Brad Pitt. World War Z by Max Brooks. The full name of the book is World War Z, an oral history of the zombie war. Obviously the best choice for this time because it feels apocalyptic and this book goes right with it. Now if you're gonna read this book, or if you're a Max Brooks fan, or if you like this book, then you should also go for this one. Now I know this is a list of 10 books, but I'm including this one because I bought it as a combo. That is the Zombie Survival Guide by Max Brooks. For obvious reasons, I don't even have to tell you why you need to read these two books, and especially when it feels so apocalyptic. So go ahead and get these two books, or at least this one. So the 10th book on my list is World War Z by Max Brooks. So that was my list of 10 books that you can read while social distancing or in self-quarantine. Now I know these books are a bit on the darker side, but that's what my preference generally is when it comes to my reading tastes. But if you're more into the lighter books, or if you want some feel-good, happy books, then I would be doing another video soon. So keep checking my channel. Thanks a lot for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you guys stay safe. Keep sanitizing your hands, keep the masks ready, and be prepared. But most of all, stay calm. Try and be productive. Spend this time with your loved ones and stay positive. Thanks a lot for watching again. Bye.